Tonight, the secrets of the taxi wars.
People are out to get me and people are out to get us, and I wouldn't put anything past some of the people we're dealing with.
The Californian tech giant trying to take over our streets.
I've been working at City Hall for 7 years. I've never seen another company that puts in that level of effort into their lobbying and their PR.
And the cabbies fight back.
We are showing Uber we're not going to back down. We're here and we're here to stay long term.
Good evening and welcome to the Tonight programme. With Christmas in full swing, at some point many of us will probably jump into a taxi to go out or to get home. It's usually a lucrative time of year for cabbies, but there's a new kid on the block who's causing many of them to fear for their futures. Californian company Uber is using a high-tech taxi app to chase a big slice of the market. But as Jonathan Maitland reports, emotions are running high as traditional cabbies fight back.
Morning, Spotty Car, Jackie speaking. How can I help you?
For a lot of us, our local minicab firm is a bit like a close neighbour, corner shop owner or pub landlord, part and parcel of daily life. They know you and you know them.
We have a lot of customers that have been with us a long time, some of us from way back over 20 years. I think people like the we know you, we trust you. We know that you're going to be on time. We know that your drivers have been with you a long time, so they feel secure. A lot of customers, we do school runs, so we'll either pick up the mum with their child, or sometimes we just take the children by themselves and they feel that they can trust us.
And the iconic black cab is also part of the British tradition of getting from A to B. After all, who hasn't enjoyed the odd rant from a cabbie?
I think Louis van Gaal's style of play is not the most exciting football to watch, let's put it that way.
But there's a new kid on the block stirring the cabbie trade up, and it comes in the form of an app on your phone. Uber is its name, and judging by the slick interior of its London offices, it's clear the company is going places. And is it any wonder? With its HQ in California, a value of £33 billion, and investors which include Google, this firm is serious about taking over the taxi world. It already operates in 67 countries. And now it's in 17 towns and cities across Britain, trying to muscle in on a £5 billion taxi market.
We want to provide transportation as reliable as running water pretty much everywhere for everyone. So we think that Uber can add value in almost every major city where there can be difficulties getting around.
The firm is not without controversy. Around the world there have been protests about how Uber has been eating into people's livelihoods. And in London, things have turned nasty. In the summer, the capital was brought to a standstill by angry black cab drivers worried about their incomes. So what exactly is Uber?
It's very simple. It takes the form of an app that you download onto your phone, couple of clicks, and a cab driver who will be very close is alerted to exactly where you are, because the technology tells him or her exactly where you are. Then a couple more clicks and you tell them where you want to go. Then you just wait, and the cab will arrive within minutes, sometimes even seconds. That's me. That's the cab. He's actually on his way, going to be here in a couple of minutes. And that's a picture of the driver. His name's Ben.
Do you like working for Uber?
Yeah, I really do enjoy it. I've been working since February, and ever since it's really helped me out. I mean, the flexibility is great. Everybody I meet is polite, everyone's friendly.
And how many jobs a day do you do, roughly, on average?
On average, I would say 10 to 15 jobs.
And what's the average fare? Is it about a tenner?
Yeah, I would say roughly about £10.
Uber doesn't run on a taxi meter, but uses sat-nav technology to calculate the price of the journey.
OK, that was very straightforward and very convenient because no cash was required. The app has my credit card details on it, so no money needed, all paid for. Also, if there's any dissatisfaction between the cabbie and myself, you can rate each other on the app, so it's all on the record.
In the last 3 years, millions of people have downloaded the Uber app in the UK, the majority of them in London. So what do its users think of it?
It's easy, it's convenient, and it's a lot cheaper than, for example, a black cab or a private taxi company.
I'd rather use Uber because I pay a lot less than a black cab, so I do prefer Uber.
I've never had a bad experience with them, really, like anything like that. And or any of my friends, to be honest. So I think it's okay.
Uber's main claim to fame is that they're up to 40% cheaper than their competitors. So we put them to the test. Meet Richard and Christabel. They're a London couple who are racing each other to Euston Station. And in Manchester, Mark and Sarah are planning to head home in a cab following a drink after work. Both couples are going to split up, one getting an Uber cab, the other a black cab, to compare speed and price.
You took your time.
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah. How'd you get on?
Yeah, good. How much did it cost you?
£11.20. How much was yours?
£9.75.
Yeah, I beat you by about 15 minutes.
So in London, as expected, the black cab was quicker but more expensive than Uber. But the reverse was the case when our Manchester couple arrived back home.
Mine was £11.70. How much was yours?
Let's have a look. I think it was £15.90.
Oh my gosh!
Here, the Uber cab was as quick, but 50% more expensive. That's because, as this Uber video explains, when there are more people wanting Uber cabs than there are drivers, fares automatically surge. But most of the time, Uber's prices are cheap. Add to that the fact that they're aggressively poaching drivers from other firms, and it means tough times for the minicab industry.
We went from a fleet of between 80 and 90 and over the last 18 months to a fleet of 60 to 70 drivers, so we have seen a significant impact of that. And the way that that impacts us is two things. One, we've had to reduce our margins to stay competitive, and the other is that we can't give always the service that we'd love to give, which would be to get somebody a car straight away, and sometimes we're giving long delays.
The black cab trade are also seeing incomes go down.
We estimate that we're 25% down at night, and at the moment we're probably about 10% down during the day. It's very hard to judge because you've got to take other factors into account, but we're seeing a return of our day base, but at night we're still probably 20–25% down.
So across the board, your black cabs are losing quite a lot of income?
We're losing a considerable amount of income.
Black cabs are feeling the pinch because wherever there's a large concentration of potential customers, Uber drivers swarm to those locations looking for fares. Here around Piccadilly Station in Manchester, on a Friday night, there are literally dozens of Uber cabs circling the station.
Well, I think the process of the way Uber works is that they just loiter around until a call comes. What that generally means is certainly from what we're seeing, is they're assuming that they're taxis and they're not. I mean, look at them parked here on the left-hand side again. They're right behind a cab rank and they're using it as if it's some sort of free way to do what they want and pick people up off the street. Because what they're doing is putting a virtual rank in the palm of your hand.
We were told by Uber's opponents that in suburban streets around Heathrow Airport, we'd see ranks of Uber drivers waiting for fares. And they weren't wrong.
A lot of these guys are Uber drivers, and this is why the industry, the black cab industry and minicabs are upset. They're saying that these guys are effectively touting for business and poaching their trade.
Apply for hire is permission to pick people up on the streets. Black cabs have that, minicabs don't. And that really is why Uber is a sort of third way down the middle, because by using technology and using the app, they can effectively act as if they are picking up people on the street without technically doing so.
But established cabbies aren't rolling over. They're fighting back. In Manchester, minicab companies are getting together to try and work out how to beat Uber.
In today's session, we will be discussing strategies to tackle the threat of Uber.
Have you seen in the press where people, obviously because it's all paperless and you upload things, people have uploaded fraudulent insurance documents and they've accepted them because there's no checking procedure and off they go. And that's the benefit of having an office as such. We have people there to manage, to check. We know the drivers, we know what they look like. Speaking to them every day. Collating the data, whereas all that is, it really is open to fraud, really.
They're not really providing benefits to drivers or customers, it's just a big cash cow.
We're taking them head on at what they do because we've got a strong brand, strong customer base, and we'll continue doing the good work that we already do.
We are showing Uber we're not going to back down. We're here and we're here to stay long term.
But it's in London where the gloves are really coming off. Here, it's almost war. Uber's opponents say it's one reason why cities, particularly London, are becoming gridlocked. It's estimated there are 20,000 Uber cabs in London alone.
Let's look at what's happening in London at the moment. The bus companies, buses can't move around. The local authorities can't, their residents can't park on their residence bays. Uber drivers are sitting there waiting for jobs. In London, we cannot sustain the number of private hire vehicles we have. 10 years ago, 1 in 100 vehicles in the central London congestion charge as a private hire vehicle. It's now 1 in 10 and growing rapidly.
To check if Uber really is having that effect, I was invited into a James Bond-style lair in the Transport for London HQ. Here, screens constantly monitor the flow of traffic in and around the capital. And the supremo for all things congestion-related is Deputy Mayor for London, Isabel Dedring.
We're licensing 600 minicab drivers a week, and the vast majority of those are because of Uber. We've seen a huge increase in the number of licensed minicab drivers and therefore the number of vehicles out on the street. We don't have the power to not license minicab drivers. If they ask for a license, we have to give it to them. It's our regulatory obligation. We would need primary legislation if we wanted to slow down that rate of growth or cap the number of vehicles out on the street. I'm not saying we want to do that, but we just have to license people who come to us for a license.
Bizarrely, this free market in minicab licences is not only affecting the established cabbies, but the Uber drivers themselves. Here they're protesting about the increases in commission that Uber are taking from them. Uber says it's just standardising commission across the world, but its drivers say that it's further eating into pay already affected by big overheads.
I've worked it out for myself. It comes out to £5.03 an hour. Now,
£5.03 an hour?
£5.03 an hour.
OK, how do you work? Just give us the figures.
And let's use Uber's own numbers for what they say top drivers earn. So Uber says top drivers work 46.1 hours a week and they earn gross £19 an hour. That gives you a total of £876, right? Take away from that 25% commission, that's £220, say. Now, let's take a typical Prius rental from an Uber marketplace supplier. He's going to charge you £270 a week. That's all in, insurance, everything on the road. Fuel, £100, £15 for a car wash, £10 for mobile phone costs.
OK, so you're saying that after commission, renting the car, fuel, other stuff, you earn £5 an hour?
I'm saying top drivers earn $5.68 an hour. That's the top driver.
Not surprisingly, Uber dispute this.
Full-time drivers working with Uber are telling us that they can take home £10 to £12 an hour, which on a completely flexible basis is pretty good. We're also always working on how we can help bring down costs for drivers. So offering deals on insurance or vehicle rental or financing to try and reduce the costs of running their business.
One of the costs Uber drivers have to incur is expensive insurance to carry passengers. Uber's opponents claim that because of low pay, some drivers are choosing to be on the road without insurance.
I don't want to be a passenger stepping into a vehicle that isn't insured for my safety. And I think there's huge concerns there. You have to have quite expensive insurance if you're driving a private hire operator, you're taking members of the public, and that should be a basic thing that every driver has, yet some of their drivers don't seem to have that. And that is a safety concern for passengers.
Uber maintained they're totally safe, but in January they were prosecuted for allowing a car to drive without insurance. And in the summer, a newspaper managed to get approval to drive an Uber cab with a fake insurance document. But Uber say that case was an isolated incident and all their drivers hold full commercial insurance. The regulator, Transport for London, could have shut Uber down for this single offence, but they chose not to.
It is a fact that they've got a fantastic lobbying machine. I've been working at City Hall for 7 years. I've never seen another company that puts in that level of effort into their lobbying and their PR, and that successfully as well. There's no doubt that that's the case.
The head of Uber's PR is Rachel Whetstone, a family friend of Prime Minister David Cameron. And Uber's also just hired Alex Bellardinelli, who was special advisor to the former Labour Shadow Chancellor Ed Balls.
It is quite clear Uber has connections right to the top of government in this country, and I don't think that's very good. I'm all for passengers to have choice. I'm not against that, but it's got to be properly regulated, and you need to make sure drivers are safe.
But in their war with Uber, the cabbies have their own weaponry. Social media and the ability to smear the Californian tech giant with videos and tweets. Here, for example, are photos and a video of a car that's turned over on a busy London street. Initially, the impression given by the person taking the video is that they're just a concerned member of the public.
Oh, you all right?
But it's apparent pretty quickly that it's a bit of propaganda against Uber.
Was you Uber?
Yeah.
Uber driver?
Yeah.
You're Uber driver?
Yeah.
Oh my good God. You insured properly?
Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah.
The inference is clear. Uber isn't safe.
Almost on a daily basis, videos are posted claiming to show dangerous or incompetent driving by Uber cabbies. Like doing a U-turn on a one-way street, running a red light, or cutting into your path.
What an idiot.
All with the hashtag Ubered.
Ubered! Uber driver! Ubered!
But the smearing can take a more sinister tone. Chris Whitehouse is a columnist for a Catholic newspaper. And last month he wrote an article largely in favour of Uber. But 11 days after publication, his phone and his inbox lit up.
The language that was used was racist, xenophobic, aggressive, foul. I couldn't repeat it on camera.
Chris says much of the abuse came from people who claim to be black cab drivers.
Nasty pictures, personal comments. I was accused of having drug convictions, all of which are completely untrue. I'm just a journalist trying to express, a columnist really, trying to express a view and to encapsulate a complex argument on one side of paper. And to get that sort of abuse left me deeply unsettled.
Quite a bit of the personal abuse has been directed at Joe Bertram, who's the general manager of Uber UK. Some of the more unpleasant ones. Joseph Goebbels has got nothing on this lady, next to a picture of her. There's one here on Twitter saying, "Joe bitch, you're dead." And another one calling her a monster and comparing her to Jimmy Savile.
There are some worryingly bigoted comments that are made, whether racist or sexist. I mean, in terms of me personally, I just try not to read it. It's not a big concern for me. We definitely hope that this is not representative of the industry in general. Where it does get a bit more worrying is customers who've written to Uber on social media just to ask a question or to point out they've lost something, who then end up getting trolled. So we're doing our best to support our customers through that.
You're not doing your cause any good, though, are you, really, with some of that stuff on social media, the bile and the abuse and the insults?
Unfortunately, social media generally, and especially Twitter, is just a hostile place. There's nobody happy on Twitter, as you know. Everyone's on there just whinging and moaning. And unfortunately, the whingers and the moaners in the cab trade have made a home on Twitter. And some of the stuff that goes on there, I absolutely abhor. I condemn all of it. I'm not even going to try and condone any of it. But it must be borne in mind that many of those people are in fact not cab drivers.
So you're saying it's people pretending to be cab drivers?
That's exactly what I'm saying to you.
You're not getting paranoid, are you, and thinking it might be the opposition as a Trojan horse?
Somebody once said, you know, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. And people are out to get me, and people are out to get us. And I wouldn't put anything past some of the people we're dealing with.
One legitimate issue the black cab lobby do like to press home is the amount of corporation tax that this multi-billion-pound company pays in the UK.
Now, when you get your receipt for your Uber journey, very conveniently on your mobile, if you look carefully, you'll see that it comes from a company, an Uber company, based in Amsterdam, in Holland. And the question is, why Holland? Why Amsterdam? Is it because the canals and cafes are nice? Well, possibly. But the main reason is to do with tax.
We obtained details of the tax paid by 4 randomly chosen black cab drivers. The combined total was just short of £24,000. We then looked into what corporation tax Uber paid last year, a total of just over £22,000. Nearly £2,000 less than just 4 black cabbies combined. And that's with UK profits of nearly £900,000 and global revenues of over £1 billion.
A handful of black cabbies pay more in tax than you did, and you earn millions. Is that fair?
I think it's important to remember that Uber's still a young company and is investing heavily, both globally but also in the UK. We've only been in the UK 3 years.
Sure, but is the tax you paid fair?
We've paid every penny of tax that is owed, and the way that corporation tax works actually is that you offset losses that you've made previously against future investment.
But you've set up in Amsterdam to reduce your tax bill. Can you understand why people are just quite angry at that? Because, you know, they see a company that's powerful, multinational, earning millions stroke billions, and paying pennies in British corporation tax.
It's also important to remember that Uber's a very big net contributor in the cities in which it operates. The lion's share of the money actually stays in the drivers' pockets, and that's then contributing to the economy.
The taxi trade is just the latest in a long line of industries to be disrupted by new technology, and there's little disagreement that Uber is here to stay. But the question for family-run minicab firms like Spotty Cars is just how big will Uber get, and can firms like them survive?
I'm not sure if Spotty Cars will be here in 10 years' time. I know my children come here and work in the holidays and take bookings, and I think they would like to keep the company going, and you know, it's a legacy. It's been handed down to me, and it would be handed down to them.
If you want to have a say in the future for the cab trade in London, Transport for London's public consultation closes on the 23rd of December. You'll find more details about this and other useful information on our website. Just head to itv.com/tonight. In the meantime, though, good evening and thanks for watching.